My BF wants to take brutal revenge just because I kissed another man in front of him.
I had never thought that one day I would find myself being one of my alpha husband's brutal revenge. You know, when you are too carefree, you end up doing things that would ruin your life and the second party's life. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was just having fun, but I guess the fun had me instead. A very small mistake took me back to the hellhole I thought I had left. I regret the day I made that mistake. I thought my husband was not going to find out. We were playing a game, you know. Just having fun with a couple of friends at a party, not knowing that what I had thought was a game was actually cheating. The worst part was the fact that I had to realize it the hard way. I was fooled by my friends and did things that I had thought were harmless and fun, only for it to ruin my life. I know someone who once had the same experience or had gone through the same situation that I was facing. How did you pick up the broken pieces and fix things regarding this situation? Let me tell you what happened. So I, F28, met this fine, handsome, and sexy man when I was visiting my aunt in Brooklyn for summer holidays. The first time I saw him, I developed a huge crush on him. Well, that time he had just turned 20 and I was 18. I had just started college in Baruch College in New York City. My aunt had always asked me to move in with her since she was staying alone. Her husband was working overseas. After I saw Chris, M30, I then reconsidered my aunt's offer. So I moved in with my aunt after I found out that Chris and his family were my aunt's neighbors. So I made it my mission to at least be friends with him since I didn't have any. One boring day, I'd been scared to ask for friendship with Chris, so I continued staying in the house. On that boring and sunny day, I decided to go and stay outside because the house was too boring for me and I needed some air. So as I was still outside, Chris arrived, was going with his family. My heart started beating so fast that I even thought it would stop. I then stared at him, or better say drooled on him for a long time. This man was fine. His body structure was to die for, not to mention his voice and smile. God, I wanted to die. Anyway, I think he saw that I was looking at him. Then he approached me after he had offloaded the things they had come with. Since that boring day, we became friends. He has been attending New York City College of Technology. He was a computer geek, which explained why he went to the College of Technology. Our friendship got stronger each day, as much as I had a huge crush on him, but I had closed my crush feeling to a small cage. At least we were friends and we were spending more time together. I was not used to Brooklyn, so he would take me to different places to visit different ice cream shops. There was this weekend when he came to my aunt's house and asked me to accompany him somewhere. I didn't ask much, so I went with him, only to find out that we were going to Central Park, which was 35 minutes drive away from Brooklyn. We were actually going to have a picnic there, and it was really fun. That was the day we had our first kiss, and he tasted so sweet and soft. From that day, he told me that he had developed feelings for me, so he proposed to me to be his girlfriend. He didn't have to ask twice. I unlocked my crush feelings and agreed to be his girlfriend. Our relationship was officialized after 6 months of keeping it a secret. It was the best year of my life. The more time we spent together, the more I got a chance to know him on a much deeper level. He was a sweet, loving, and loyal guy, but he was strict. He didn't take any shit from anyone, which made him an alpha boyfriend. We dated for 2 years, and it was a great ride. So his 22nd birthday was coming. I had invited all his friends since I was hosting a surprise birthday party for him. You can call it young love because we were very much in love with each other. So during the party, one of his friends had asked everyone to participate in a game called Spin the Bottle. My man told him that we were not going to join the game. I didn't understand why, because the game looked fun except for the fact that if the bottle points in your direction and another person's direction, you had to kiss them or drink the undiluted vodka. But it looked really fun, so I wanted to try it. The following year, he proposed to me, and obviously I said yes. I saw the love of my life in him. Even though he was a bit insecure. Maybe not a bit, but I loved him so much. I didn't see myself with anyone else other than him. He was my ride or die, my joy and happiness. I fell hard for him every day, not knowing that my small, stupid mistakes would cost me everything, including my love. Was it being naive or being forward? We got married after 6 months. We didn't want to rush things, so we took our own sweet time to plan for our perfect wedding. I had moved out of my aunt's house after he proposed. We were living happily ever after. You know when you feel that she is the one, and you don't want anything to get in between you, which was how I felt. He was everything and more. not knowing that he would become my downfall someday. A year later, I fell pregnant. Our lives were great. I was so happy that I was going to be a mom. Not just being a mom, but the fact that I was going to have a child with the person I loved so much. 9 months later, I gave birth to a very adorable baby girl. She looked so much like my husband, and I loved her so much. She was and still is the best gift God had given me. Chris was so obsessed with his baby to a point that I was somehow jealous because the baby loved her daddy more than me. He would ask me to go out and rewind with friends since I was always in the house taking care of the baby. Chris didn't want me to work, but I talked him out of that thought and told him that at least I would do remote jobs. In that case, I would be able to be a stay-home mom while receiving an income. So one day I had received an invitation from one of my former college friends for a reunion party. I asked for permission to go from my husband, of course. He didn't have any problem. So one sunny Saturday, I attended the party, and it was a blast. It was fun. It was just a small and intimate party with just a few college friends. I really enjoyed myself, so one of the guys came up with the plan to play truth or dare. I thought it was just a game and we were all having fun, not knowing that I had committed adultery. I didn't know that kissing was considered cheating. Worst part, in that reunion party, everyone was happy and having fun. Videos and pictures of every moment were taken. Little did I know that those videos and pictures would ruin everything for me. A year later, I had asked my aunt to come over to my marital home with her husband, because I had planned a surprise retirement and welcome back party for him, since he was no longer going to be working overseas but coming back home. I wanted to appreciate him while he was still alive. That man had done so much for me. He was the best uncle-father I had ever had. Both Uncle John and my aunt deserved to get their roses while still alive. During that year, Chris had started acting really strange. He was no longer spending time with me, but he would take our daughter only, and saying it was a daughter and daddy bonding session. That was actually a very lame excuse because even at home, things were no longer fun. It was like we were forcing things, even though our conversations were no longer fun and full of happiness. I had thought he was cheating because one day I had confronted him about his sudden behavior, and he looked at me like I had grown horns or I was crazy. So I decided to check his gadgets. Maybe he was using them to cheat, but I found nothing. I knew and felt that he was hiding something from me, but I couldn't get myself to think that whatever he was hiding was actually about me. One summer evening, I was preparing for my uncle's retirement welcome home party. I had told Chris that I would be hosting a party for my uncle, so I needed him to be there to help me. That day, he had promised me that he would be home early, but he didn't keep his promise. I mean, why was I surprised? Because he had been absent for a few days. He would go to work very early in the morning and come back late when our daughter would have even gone to sleep. When I asked him about it, he would say he was caught up at work. I couldn't shake off the nagging feeling that told me that something was off. I kept wondering why Chris was so distant and absent lately. Yes, I found out that he was not cheating, but there was something that had made him too busy for his wife because even our intimate moments were no longer the same. It was like he was doing it to satisfy himself more than the both of us. I wanted to find out what his problem was, but I just didn't know where to start. I had thought I knew Chris, but his behavior showed me that I didn't know him at all. So as the guests were arriving for my uncle's party, my uncle and his wife came, but I noticed that my uncle was a bit off as he tried pretending to be happy. I asked him on the side to speak with him, so I asked him what was going on. I had thought he was sick or something, but that was not the case. He had recently opened his coffee shop with the money he had gotten when it was his last day overseas. He told me that his business was crumbling down. I didn't understand how it was crumbling down because it was always busy. Then he told me that someone had hacked the business's account, and that person was busy stealing the money. My heart ached for my uncle, so I told myself that I would find the person who plays in my uncle's business account. It didn't even come to my mind that my husband would be responsible. Was I ignorant? I told my uncle that I would take the money I had inherited from my late mother and support him so he could recover the money he lost. It was going to be little, but it was going to make a difference. I couldn't let my uncle's business go down the drain like that. I had to do something, and I mean, he had been with me, playing a father role in my role. It was the least I would have done to help him. Chris came back looking pale, and his eyes held a sinister glint. The suspicions that I had and tried to investigate about were proved. My husband had lipstick on his shirt collar. He was reeking of alcohol. It was not the Chris I knew. I was shuddered, you know. My world was shuddered at the fact that the feeling I had been trying to ignore had come to reality to hit me like a ton of bricks. Chris had been cheating on me, and my suspicions got proved. The bitterness of betrayal consumed me. I wanted to find out why he would do something so evil to me. I had thought we were happy, but I guess thoughts were not always right. Little did I know that the revenge I was seeking would backfire very badly. So I embarked on a relentless pursuit of the truth, unearthing a web of lies, infidelity, and corruption. With each revelation, my anger grew. I then discovered that Chris had not only been cheating on me, but had also orchestrated a plan to take advantage of my uncle's struggling business. I just couldn't believe it. It was really hard for me to believe that my loving husband would do something so evil to me and my uncle. My heart shattered, so I vowed to bring down both my cheating husband and the conniving individuals who had taken advantage of my family. Armed with my wit, resilience, and a newfound strength, I had set out a plan to expose the truth and divorce his ungrateful self. Did he do all that to make me suffer just because the only thing I did was to love him, or he married me or dated me just because he knew and saw that I had a crush on him? A lot of questions were running through my mind, and I couldn't find any answers for them. I even decided to be a stay-home mom just because I was respecting him since he wanted me to be a housewife. But we had spoken about that and came to an agreement that I would do only remote jobs, and he decided to do such an evil act on me. What did I do wrong to him? The way I was shuddered and disappointed led to not being a fully present mother to our daughter. He was still living in our marital home, and he never forgot to spend his time with his daughter, which was what I appreciated because I was not in my right state of mind to take care of the baby. He didn't know that I knew his plans and his infidelity, and I had to act accordingly, so I would confront him when I had got tangible evidence. A month later, we had been living like roommates in our house. Even our daughter had caught the thick tension that was in our home. My conscience kept telling me that my husband would never cheat on me. He loved me and our family so much for him to just destroy it like that if there was nothing going on. I suspected that maybe he was going through something. But would a person who was going through something cheat on you and plan to destroy your uncle's business? Everything was really confusing. So I decided to seek revenge on my uncle's behalf and try to bring back his business and the money he had lost. I should have known that Chris would use his immature computer geeks, he calls friends, to do his dirty business. What did I think exactly when it didn't come to me that the only person who would be able to pull that stunt? Another thing that had confused me was, why would my husband want to destroy my uncle? Did they have any beef that I didn't know about? My relentless pursuit of justice culminated in a confrontation that would change everything. Facing my husband, Chris, and the people responsible for my family's downfall. So I invited his friends for lunch at our home, of course, since Chris was also not working. It was a great time to unleash a storm of truth and retribution that left them all stunned. I knew they would not have expected me to know everything about their dark operation that was busy pulling my uncle's business account money. Chris was livid after I had dropped a bombshell on him and his friends and threatened to expose their operation if they didn't return my uncle's money that they had been taking. Later that evening, he came to our room and told me that we had to talk. I didn't allow him to, so I just looked at him with a go-ahead look. I didn't want to waste my voice talking to him, so he had to do the talking. I know I was not perfect also. I had not been faithful to my marriage. Not that I was cheating. I mean, sleeping with another man outside your marriage is considered cheating, right? Well, I didn't cheat. At least I thought I didn't, but I had a guy friend from college. Chris knew about our friendship even though he was not approving of it, but I had assured him that we were just friends. Nothing more. So me and this guy would be free with each other to a point that we somehow kissed, but that was it. Nothing else happened. Just kissing. So as he was talking and apologizing about what he had done to my uncle and promised to return every cent he had taken from his account, my heart was at ease. That night we had talked things through and ended up enjoying our intimacy. I had missed him a lot. I had missed our family's happy moments. I thought that we were past what had happened, even though I also had my own secrets, but they were not dark like his. A few months passed and our relationship was going stronger again. We were happy. Well, I thought we were not knowing that the bastard had planned to destroy me. He once asked me if I had considered kissing another person outside our marriage. Cheating. My opinion was that I didn't consider kissing as cheating because it didn't go with feelings. Just a little fun here and there, but being intimate with another person outside our marriage would be considered cheating. Was I wrong? The answer he gave me was, which confused me because I had thought we were just having a conversation between married people. One cold summer weekend, I received a call from an unknown number. I was just chilling with my husband and our baby girl. The call left me devastated and lost. I didn't know what to do. I was told that my uncle and aunt were involved in a tragic car accident and none of them made it out alive. My world came crumbling down. I had lost the only people I had called family. They took me in and made me their child, since they had struggled to have children. So after the passing of my mother, they took it upon themselves to take charge of my well-being. I was really sad, so I went to the police department to ask further regarding their accident because I knew that my uncle was a very vigilant driver, so he would never be careless on the road, and that wouldn't have caused the accident. I was told that his car tires were tempered with. He didn't notice them, and it led to a car losing control, and there was a truck that came on the side coming in full speed and collided with my uncle's car on my aunt's side. They showed me pictures and the car was beyond recognition. Even a pro driver would not have survived that accident. It was too tragic and heartbreaking. Weeks later, after we had buried my aunt and uncle, their lawyer told me that they had left everything under me and my daughter's name since they never had any children or extended family members. I couldn't believe that they would actually do something so generous to me. I grieved for my uncle and aunt the wrong way. I had pushed away my husband, neglected my duties as a mother and a wife. I found solace in alcohol. I felt alone, I felt like an orphan, so I drank. Alcohol made me escape the real world for a couple of hours, so I would ask my male friend to accompany me to whatever place that had fun. I would be having so much fun to a point that I even lost control. My male friend would kiss me here and there during our drinking spree, and I would accept his kisses. I wanted to numb the pain that I was feeling in my heart. My husband was so patient with me, he even tried to get me help, but I didn't accept it. I didn't want any shrink to ask me to open up about my problems. I wanted my aunt and uncle. My husband was there and patient throughout my grieving process. A couple of months passed. I decided that I had to pick myself up and remember that I had a family that needed me. I almost lost myself because of grief. I had lost connection with my daughter. My husband was on the verge of giving up on me if I had continued with the way I was behaving. It is said that even a patient's heart loses its patience when there is no progress in what it holds. Little did I know that during the whole grief moment or term, my husband was actually aware of everything I was doing. I know that he was doing it to ensure my safety and well-being, but he should have talked me through everything or taken me to the rehabilitation center by force. I was not myself, and he used that to his own satisfaction and cruelty. So after I had completely healed, I sold my aunt's house. I had found an anonymous buyer who was willing to deposit the full amount of the house. I was happy because it was not really easy to sell a house in Brooklyn. I transferred the house money to my daughter's accounts for future purposes. Chris came with the idea that we should buy a new house. Well, a bigger one than the one we had. So I agreed and moved to another place outside New York. A couple of months later, I found out that I was pregnant, which was the happiest moment of my life because it meant that my family was growing. My husband and daughter were with me. On the other hand, I was expecting another bundle of joy, an additional member of my small family. During that pregnancy, Chris went back to his strange behavior. It was like he was not happy about my pregnancy and the fact that we were expecting an additional member into our small circle, which was what we had always wanted. I was sure that the baby I was carrying was his child, because I had never slept with my male friend. One fateful night, he came back home looking angry. I asked what the matter was, and he just told me that it was work-related, so I didn't ask anything further because I didn't want to stress my baby, and if it was something work-related, he would find a way to sort it out. Little did I know that the work-related matter was actually me. That night, he didn't even spend his night with me. He slept in our daughter's bedroom, which raised an eyebrow. Why would he sleep in our daughter's room if whatever had made him angry was work-related because he had never done that before? The behavior kept getting worse. And that time he would sometimes come back home intoxicated and start speaking a lot of things that didn't make sense. He would start picking fights with me, saying that he would destroy my life because after all the time we had been married, I made him a fool. His accusations really confused me because I never thought my own husband would accuse me of such things. To me, it came as like he didn't trust me or he believed that I had cheated, but I never did. Or did I? A few days later, he came back home and asked to speak to me. My heart jumped out of joy thinking that he had come back to his senses, and he was willing to play his husband and a father role to our children. As we were speaking, he took out an envelope and asked me to open it. I opened it without any fear or suspicion. I thought it was something else. I didn't know why I had thought that it was something else that I didn't know of. I took out the papers that were in an envelope. He told me that he was thinking that we should expand my uncle's business since we had left Brooklyn, so it was time we open another one around where we were staying, and there was someone who was willing to join the business chain. I was happy that Chris was willing to do better by my uncle's business and expand it, so I agreed, and he asked me to sign the papers for partnership. Stupid me, I signed the papers without reading them just because I trusted my husband and he thought he would never do wrong by me. I was his wife and the mother of his children, for goodness sake. 2 weeks later, it was time that we had to open another coffee shop near where we were staying. But my husband had gone AWOL. I didn't understand his sudden disappearance because we had agreed on the date to launch the coffee shop. He had left for a week with our daughter, saying that they were going to his parents' house in Brooklyn, and he was going to go for a day and come back, but I guess a day became a week. I tried calling him, but his phone was not going through. I had tried everything to reach him, but I couldn't. I got really worried and the fear of losing them creeped on me. I started panicking because even his parents confirmed that our daughter was with them, but Chris was not. I didn't want to lose Chris, and I was not ready to. The thought of him leaving me like my aunt and uncle came, and it was not a really pleasing feeling because I was stressed, which affected my unborn child. A month later, I received a call from our lawyer asking me to meet up with her. I agreed, thinking that maybe he had news regarding my husband, only to find out that he was going to serve me with divorce papers. I was shocked because I didn't understand the meaning of everything. I was going through stress that my husband had not been home for the whole month, and suddenly I was served with divorce papers. I didn't want to lose my husband for something I didn't know about. I thought he had gone back to his cheating ways, and I was not willing to lose him to another woman. I was willing to fight for my husband and our family. So I decided to find another lawyer who would represent me during the divorce process. But bad things kept happening to me. My cards got blocked. Even my daughter's account got blocked. I couldn't receive or transfer payments. I didn't know what was going on, so I went to the bank to try and fix my account's issues, which failed dismally. I couldn't even pay for the lawyer I had found, meaning he would not be able to represent me. I was furious. I missed my aunt so much because she would have known what to do or say to me to make me feel better. I was pressured to the point that I got abdominal pains one night, mind you. I was alone in the house, so I called 911 for assistance. Unfortunately, when I got to the hospital, I had already lost the baby. My heart was broken. I even wished death upon myself. I had thought my baby was a fighter, but I guess that time he or she couldn't fight any longer. I needed my husband, the same husband who had filed for a divorce for me. My mind was all over the place. My life was becoming a mess each and every day. I spent the whole week in hospital. My mind and heart was shuttered. A day before I got discharged from the hospital, my husband's lawyer came to see him. He left another envelope that I didn't even bother opening, but I took it home with me the next day. So when I had settled well at home, I remembered the envelope and opened it. The things the envelope contained left me in awe. My heart stopped for a moment. In the envelope, there were pictures of me and my male friend kissing each other. It looked like we were dating. I couldn't believe how my husband had got the pictures. I didn't understand why he would send his lawyer to deliver the pictures to me, and I saw nothing wrong in what I did. In my world or mind, kissing was not and should not be considered as cheating. No feelings were attached. It was fun, nothing else. So after the pictures were delivered, the lawyer called me again, saying the divorce process had to come to a final decision, and requested to see me along with my husband on a certain date. I honored his request and went to meet up with him and my husband. The only thing that made me agree to the meeting was because I had a lot of questions to ask my husband. One fateful day, the day of the meeting came, and my husband was really divorcing me, and his reasons for the divorce were that he had lost trust in me, and I had not been faithful to our marriage. The fact that I had found solace in another man's arms and left him in our house to take care of our daughter. I thought he understood that I was going through grief, and I was not myself. I tried defending myself in the pictures case, and the lawyer told me exchanging saliva or kissing another person outside my marriage is considered cheating, even if I had thought it was an innocent friendship kiss. But the fact that I had spent time and kissed another person in the name of friendship is cheating. I didn't know that and never thought of it as cheating because me and the guy were only friends. I didn't take him as another thing and never thought of him that way. I loved my husband so much, but I guess the only thing I never did was respect my wedding vows and my husband. I didn't know, okay, one moment I was happy, the next I was grieving and found comfort in alcohol. That alcohol led me to do something that I had thought I was doing just for fun. I guess nothing stays in the dark. I felt so ashamed. Doing things in the name of fun sometimes leads us to our downfall. So I ended up signing the papers, meaning I was actually letting go of my husband, our love, our vows, and our family. I asked the lawyer what I was benefiting from the divorce, and he told me that I would be getting nothing rather than the house I was living in. So I asked my husband to unfreeze my accounts, and he told me that my accounts were fine. It was just that they didn't have any money. I knew he was crazy, but I had never thought it was to that extent. How could he do something so evil to the mother of his child? As I had thought that was all. He then dropped a very large and a killer bombshell to me, saying that he was taking full custody of our daughter and that I was not fit enough to be a mother, so he was taking full responsibility to our daughter. To my luck, I had my aunt and uncle's offshore accounts cards with me. They had a little money in them. It was enough to push me until I would be able to find my feet, so I took that money and hired a private investigator to run an investigation on my ex-husband. When he came back with the results, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that my husband was responsible for my downfall. It showed that he was the one who owned my family home, the one my aunt and uncle lived in. He also tricked me to sign the papers that he said were partnership papers, but I was actually signing all my rights to him, meaning he was the full owner of my uncle's businesses. Those were replaceable things because during the investigation finding, it also stated that my husband was responsible for my aunt and uncle's accident. I felt my knees getting weak each and every moment when I read the findings. I had never thought he was that evil. I had lost the only people who were my family, as if that was not enough. He took my daughter away from me. I should have left him the first time I found out that he was responsible for my uncle's business to lose money. My ex-husband was evil and psychopathic. The signs were there, but I didn't pay any attention to them. I was so much in love and thought I had found my soulmate, but I found my worst nightmare and downfall. I couldn't believe that he did all that just because of a lousy kiss. It wasn't like I was dating the guy, but he destroyed my life. All in the name of revenge for a kiss. A few months later, I had to try and fix my life bit by bit. Chris did a number on me, so it wasn't easy having to start afresh everything. Fortunately, I found a job as a waitress in one of the restaurants nearby. It was not easy, but I had to try and pick up life and better myself. I had no one but myself, so it was time to focus on me and do me. And the good thing was that Chris's parents had allowed me to see my daughter and spend time with her. I prayed every day for karma to visit Chris one day. Fortunately, it did. All his operations came out and he was arrested. I vowed to myself to never fall in love again or have a crush on someone. I have learned my lesson. Do you think I handled the whole situation better, or I was a coward and naive to allow Chris to destroy my life like that? Please advise me. Hello, kind people of Reddit. Today you will hear the story of how my girlfriend tried to fool me but made a fool of herself only. I, male 30, was dating my girlfriend, a female 38, for around a year. I work as an accountant in a multinational company. My girlfriend used to work in a cafe. We met in her cafe only. Her cafe was near my workplace. I liked going to a local cafe to have my coffee, rather than going to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know why, but the coffee of a local cafe hits different. So yeah, I used to go to that cafe frequently. We knew each other's names since I was a regular there. I used to talk to her about how I liked my coffee brew and stuff. We were friendly with each other. I went to the cafe in the evening. I was reading my book when she came around and told me that she had to close down the cafe for the day. I was starting to get up to leave when I realized it had started to rain outside. The rain had started pouring completely out of nowhere, so I didn't even carry my umbrella. I was waiting outside the cafe on the pavement for the rain to end so I could walk back to my place. It was pouring so much that I couldn't even see anything. Soon, she came outside and started waiting with me on the pavement. She asked me about the book I was reading. It was Murakami. She said she reads his work as well and really likes it. For those of you who don't know Murakami and his work, let me tell you that it's really rare to find people who have read it and enjoyed it. Otherwise, people usually give you a look. Anyways, coming back to the story, we started talking about books and other things. We didn't realize how quickly the time passed and it had stopped raining. We talked for more than an hour, just standing on the pavement, and no one of us realized the time. We became friends from that day onwards. She would always give me a smile. I didn't realize, but I started to get eager to go to the cafe and see her again. It sort of became like a habit. I started to visit the cafe even on weekends just so I could see her. It was safe to say that I had developed a huge ass crush on this girl. I found her really pretty and really sweet. I just didn't know if she was single or with someone. I thought of clarifying that sooner rather than later. And so one day I waited for her on the pavement when she was closing down the cafe. She was surprised when she came outside and found me waiting. I told her that I thought of walking together till the train station. We started walking together towards the train station. She told me about the opening of the bookstore near her cafe. She told me she visited there and it seemed like the place that I would enjoy. I was touched that she even remembered me. I then asked her if she went with her boyfriend. She smiled and told me that she went alone. I was relieved to hear that. I asked her out on a date that night. She said yes, and that's how we started dating. I remember this weekend distinctively. It was a few months after we started dating. My girlfriend was staying at my place for the weekend. I remember that we were lounging on the couch in my dimly lit living room. We had gotten fresh popcorn since it was a Friday night. We had made it a habit to spend our Friday nights curled up together, watching random YouTube videos and sharing laughter at the absurdity of some content creators. I remember how my girlfriend got excited as she clicked on a video titled, "Hooker Wins 4K USD Prize." She laughed and told me to watch it with her. The video featured an attractive young woman recounting her story as a high-end escort. She had been hired for an exclusive party, and at the end of the night, she was awarded a cash prize of $4,000 for being the most sought-after companion. The woman's excitement and pride were evident as she displayed the wad of cash before the camera. She had a confident grin plastered across her face. I was shocked to know such things even exist. I had to go through so many numbers and files to make money, and this woman, that much amount in a single night. My girlfriend was equally shocked as well. She said she can't even calculate how many days it will take her in the cafe to make that amount of money. I don't know why, but a strange knot of fascination and unease formed in the pit of my stomach. "That's a lot of money," I said to her. My girlfriend nodded absently, her gaze locked on the woman in the video. "Yeah, it is. I mean, it's definitely not something I'd ever do, but you can't deny the money is tempting." Her words got stuck in my head. I started thinking if financial allure was enough to persuade people to betray their morals. I wondered if my girlfriend can get tempted by this too. I quickly shunned the thought from my head when my girlfriend laughed slowly and suggested we watch something less controversial. I dismissed the growing thought in my head. It was completely irrational. My girlfriend had never given me any indication that she would do anything to betray me. If she didn't like watching something like this, how could she do something like this? I thought to myself. The next few days passed quite normally. I'd forgotten about that afternoon and that YouTube video. Since we started dating, I kept visiting my girlfriend in the cafe. Everyone in the cafe knew me on a first-name basis by then. But a few days after that weekend, when we watched the YouTube video, my girlfriend's behavior changed. Whenever I used to call her asking if I should come to the cafe and she was free, she would tell me that she was quite busy and to come another time. We both were quite busy with our work on the weekdays, but we had a pattern where she would spend the weekend with me at my place. She had spent almost all the weekends at my place since we started dating. She started telling me that she couldn't come with me as she had to work late for some other reason. I believed her because I had no reason to doubt her loyalty. We haven't been dating for longer, but she seemed like an honest person, and our relationship was also going quite well. We started meeting less and less. But I didn't doubt that anything was wrong because every time we would meet, she would meet with so much affection that it made me so happy to notice that something was wrong. I shared this with my best friend. He has been my friend since we were in college. I was a commerce student, and he was a computer science engineer. He worked at an IT department of a multinational company just like mine. He was also famous or infamous for his hacking skills. I shared with my friend how sometimes I felt that my girlfriend was avoiding me, but whenever she would meet me, she would be all hugs and kisses. He laughed at that and told me that it was common with all girls. He told me how his girlfriend would do the same thing. He said she would also act mean on texts and then got cute when they met. I laughed at that. I hoped that he was right, and it was just that. I didn't have much experience with relationships, so it was possible that I was making mole out of a hill, but I couldn't shake off the unease feeling that would come when my girlfriend told me that she wasn't free to hang out with me or can't spend the weekend with me. I called my girlfriend on a Friday afternoon. I wanted to ask her what time I should pick up from the cafe. Just as I called her, I hoped to God that she spends the weekend with me. I missed her. She picked up the call and told me that she has to run some errands and has plans with her friends from the cafe, so it's better if she stays at her place. I was really disappointed, but I hid it well and told her to enjoy the weekend. I then hung up the call. I was not sure that something was amiss. It wasn't like her to cancel plans for 2 consecutive weekends. As the time passed by, I knew that I couldn't ignore my suspicions any longer. The need to find answers had become unbearable, and I vowed that one way or another, I would unravel the mystery that changed my girlfriend's behavior. I decided that I will confront her and have a face-to-face conversation regarding the difference in her behavior. I called her on Monday and told her that I wanted to see her. I thought that she would give me some excuse again, but to my relief, she agreed to meet me. We decided to meet at a restaurant which was near both our workplaces. She told me that she would meet me there directly. I was waiting for her in the restaurant itself. When she came, she hugged me directly. She laughed. Her laugh sounded so contagious and genuine. It made me feel like everything was perfect. Once she settled down in the booth opposite me, I finally took her in. I haven't seen her properly for around 2 weeks. Every time I asked her, she would give me some reason. I didn't even know if it was genuine or just an excuse. She looked quite different that day. She was a barista, so it was obvious that she wasn't exactly rich. I'm not judging, just stating facts. To be honest, it was her simplicity that attracted me towards her in the beginning. But that day she was wearing jeans which looked like they were new and of a really good brand. She had a fancy bag with her. What caught my attention the most was the necklace she was wearing. I knew about that necklace when a friend showed me what his fiancée wanted for her birthday. I remembered that brand. It was Pandora, and I was sure it cost somewhere around $300 USD. She didn't used to have that kind of money to purchase things like that. I asked her how she got that necklace. She hesitated for a bit, but then told me that she wanted it for a long time, and when finally it was on sale, she used her savings and got it. I believed her. We ordered our meal. I began the conversation by asking how she was. She gave me a smile and told me that she was fine. We chit-chatted for a while. I asked her if there was any reason why she was ignoring me. At that time, I wasn't sure if I was overthinking or I actually saw guilt on her face for a second before she hid it. She came forward and held my hands. She told me that I was overthinking. I had told her that I had a habit of overthinking things. I didn't know if she was using my overthinking as an excuse to defend her actions, or was I actually overthinking? We talked for a while and everything seemed okay. There was nothing wrong about her behavior in person. She was still laughing, still smiling at me. I believed her that I was just overthinking and everything was okay between us. One thing about my girlfriend was that she used to usually hesitate when we would go out on dinner. She didn't like that I was spending so much money when we could have just had dinner at home. We even laughed about it. One time I told her that I don't think too much about money, and she replied sarcastically, "'Cause you have loads of it." We laughed then. I was just doing well. My job wasn't the highest paying job in the city, but it did well for me. I always picked the tab because it came naturally to me. My girlfriend never offered to pay, and I didn't want her to either. It had become a ritual sort of between us. However, that day when the waiter got our bill, She stopped me when I was getting my wallet and told me that it was on her. It was strange. In all the months we dated, this had never happened. I couldn't resist myself and asked her why she insisted on pay. She shrugged like this and said she thought for a change, she should pay as well. I told her she should spend her money wisely. She seemed offended by that for a second, but then quickly recovered and nodded. She told me that I should head back to my office as it was already past lunchtime and she would go to the cafe alone. I didn't like the idea. I told her that it's fine that the break is over. I could still drop her to the cafe, but she was adamant and told me to go to the office straight away. I hugged her and told her that I would like to see more of her. She nodded with a smile and we both went our way. Everything was going fine then. We would text each other throughout the day and she would go to sleep early at night. That's what she told me. I would spend the nights working or scrolling through YouTube since I had nothing better to do, and I had a habit of sleeping late. One night when I was scrolling through YouTube on my television, the channel with the hooker video started playing. It must have come in my recommendation because we watched it that day. I was already bored, so I thought, why not watch it only? They were having that party again. There was a guy with a mic who was introducing all the hookers in that party. He had announced that the winner would get $6,000 prize that night. They had increased the amount, I thought, and laughed. My laughter died immediately when the guy introduced one hooker to the camera. She was completely in makeup and a very tight dress. She was actually dressed as a hooker. I couldn't have recognized her if I hadn't spent so much time with her. On the television screen was my girlfriend, the same girlfriend who told me on our first date that she hated makeup and revealing clothes, the same thing she was wearing right now. I rubbed my eyes to make sure I wasn't seeing someone else, but I was sure as fuck that it was my girlfriend. She told her name to the guy in a sultry voice. That wasn't her real voice, but it was still hers. She didn't even tell her real name. I was actually confused then. I thought maybe it's someone else who is identical to my girlfriend. I had to do something to figure it out. I started pacing in my living room as the show continued on and kept showing all the hookers. I thought that I'll just call my girlfriend and talk to her. It will wake her up, but I needed to find out if the girl on the TV was my girlfriend or not. I dialed her number, but she didn't pick up. I kept calling her again and again, desperate to hear her voice. I then decided to go to her home to check on her. We both had a key to each other's house for emergency purposes. I thought that I'll just go and see her sleeping on the bed and then come back. As I drove to her home, I kept praying in my head that I found her in her home. I didn't even want to imagine what I was going to do if I didn't find her in her bed. With a heavy heart, I reached her apartment and unlocked the door. The apartment had all the lights off. I tried to calm myself, thinking maybe she's just sleeping and that's why, and switched off all the electricity. I went to her bedroom and opened the door. I switched on the lights and the bed was empty. The room seemed to shrink around me. I felt like the air was thick with tension and deceit. My heart was pounded in my chest, a relentless thud echoing through my body. I stared at the empty bed in her bedroom, my mind racing with questions and accusations. My suspicion had come true and my heart broke. The girl who promised me that she will never break my heart had done exactly just that. I felt so broken and so lonely in that moment that I had never felt. I got out of her apartment and got in my car and drove back home. I laid down in my bed as I started thinking about the whole situation. My girlfriend was a hooker. That much was clear, but there were still so many questions in my head. My palms were slick with sweat as I clenched them into fists, nails digging into my skin. The pain was a welcome distraction, grounding me as I grappled with the devastating revelation. How long had she been hiding this from me? Was our entire relationship built on a foundation of lies? I came back home and started pacing in the living room. I couldn't understand what was going on. There were so many questions, but I had no one who could give me my answers. How long has she been a hooker? I kept thinking. I felt nauseated as I thought if she had always been a hooker. I started thinking of all the signs in the beginning of our relationship. There must have been something off about her if she was a hooker, and how could I have missed it? I kept thinking, but nothing came to my mind. When I had started dating her, she was a simple girl who worked in a local cafe and enjoyed reading Murakami. Who was this girl on TV? As my mind got filled with all these thoughts, I started having a headache and then went to take a painkiller. I woke up the next morning on my couch. I didn't even remember falling asleep here. The medicine worked and I must have fallen asleep, I thought to myself as I checked my phone. My girlfriend texted me in the morning. I read her text. "Sorry, I was asleep when you called. Call me when you wake up." This was the text she had left me. I knew she was lying. Only thing which angered me more was that I was falling for her lies since God knows when. At this point, I was convinced that our entire relationship was nothing but just a sham. I switched on the television. I played the same YouTube channel that I did last night. The latest video was aired sometime around 3 a.m. My girlfriend was the winner at that party and she had won $6,000. I had felt enough hurt now. I couldn't behave like a heartbroken teenager anymore. My girlfriend had thought that she was the player here, and she could play me, and I would not bat an eye on her. I never doubted her because I trusted her. Now that the trust is gone and I knew her reality, nothing was stopping from making her pay. I decided to show her that she cannot escape the result of the damage done by her. I started thinking how I was going to make her pay. It didn't take much time to figure it out. She did all this for money, so now I was going to take that away from her. Even though I knew her truth, I still decided that before taking any action, I had to get sure about what she was doing behind my back. I was just thinking about all this when I got a call from her. She told me how she missed my calls because her phone was on silent and she was asleep. I told her it was fine. I didn't tell her anything about the previous night and acted normal. I confronted her earlier because I trusted her. I believed her to tell me the truth. Now I know she was betraying me and I had no intention of telling her anything. She told me she was leaving for work and I wished her a good day. I ended the call after that and got ready. I didn't go to work that day and instead went to her apartment. I knew that she had already left the apartment and was in the cafe. I entered her apartment and went to her bedroom. I wanted some evidence to confirm what I already knew. There was nothing in there except bags of quite designer brands. She had definitely gone shopping with her new money. My eyes then fell on her laptop. It was placed on her dressing table. I opened it. It already had an open browser. I found what I was looking for in her laptop. The browser had a hooker's website open. The account was already logged in. You must have guessed it by now. It had the profile of my girlfriend, just with a different name. The pictures were her, the email address, the PayPal details, everything belonged to her. I saw her chat threads with various men. She was charging $150 for one meeting, and all these men were paying that. I felt like throwing up. The woman who I thought was the love of my life was actually leading a double life, and I had no freaking idea. I tried to find out how long it has been going on. The website finally showed that her profile was only made around a month ago. I opened the calendar on my phone and checked that date. I was not very surprised when I saw that her account was created on a Friday. It was the same Friday we watched that damn YouTube video. Everything started making sense. I remember that day. My intuition was right. My girlfriend can and has betrayed her morals for money. I was now sure that I wanted to execute my plan and take revenge from her. She betrayed my love and trust for money. If only she had asked, I would have given her everything I owned. I then went to another cafe to grab some coffee. I called up my best friend, who used to be a hacker. I told him to meet me at that cafe. By the time I settled down after ordering my coffee, my friend had arrived too. I told him that I had already ordered coffee for us and asked him to sit with me. We settled down and I told him everything from the starting till the end about my relationship and what I found the previous day and that morning at my girlfriend's apartment. He was shocked when I got to the part of the previous night and that morning. "What a bitch," was his first response. I had called her that quite a few times in my head already, so I didn't stop him. Before any of you give me a lecture about disrespecting a woman, please know she was living a double life. I had no respect left for her. He then asked me what I was going to do about it. I told him that I don't want to let her go so easily. He nodded to that. I knew he would understand, and that was the reason I had only called him and no one of my other friends. I told him my plan. He was surprised and shocked when he listened to it, but I didn't need to convince him to agree to any shit. He was already in it. I told him that I wanted to strip her off everything. I wanted all her money gone, and I wanted her on the streets since she enjoyed being there a lot. He asked me how I was going to do it. I told him that he had to take out all the money from his PayPal account by using his hacking skills. I told him that I was going to make her homeless. He told me that I was taking a big step and asked me if I was ready for it. I told him I was ready for it and to get it done as soon as possible. He asked me for her email ID and I gave it to him. He left the cafe and I went to execute another part of my plan. I went to her cafe and found her behind the corner. She gave me a smile when she saw me. Her face was glowing. It wasn't the glow from love. It was the glow from her bank balance. I smiled, thinking how I was going to take that away from her. I hugged her as she came to me. I told her that I missed her. She said she missed me too. I asked her if she had some time to sit with me. She nodded and we settled on the corner of the cafe. We talked for a bit. She finally told me that her lease of her apartment was ending soon. I took that as my opportunity and told her she could move in with me. She seemed shocked and surprised that I had suggested that. She asked me if I was ready for that sort of commitment. I told her why not. She made a face like she was calculating something in her head. Probably how much money she would save on rent if we moved in together. She agreed and told me that she was really happy to start this chapter of life with me. I told her I was happy as well. She called her landlord and told him that she won't be renewing her lease as she was moving in with me. I gave her a fake smile and then left for the office. She called me around the evening telling me that she needed my help to pack her stuff and to shift everything to our home. I told her I'll be there to help her through everything. I had almost called her out then and there on the call, but I wanted to see her reaction when I told her that her game was over. I kept my calm and went to her place to help her pack everything. She asked me if I was excited. She was grinning from ear to ear. She told me that she can't wait to live with me. I lied through my teeth and told her that living together was going to be amazing. We were done in a few hours and then went to our place. Everything fitted in my truck, so we didn't need to call anyone for help. We just made our way home while she gave me her sweet smile throughout the drive. One night had changed things so much. Earlier, I used to love her smiles, but after I knew everything, I felt like throwing up when she smiled at me like that. We placed all the boxes in the living room. Just as I was done with that, my friend's message came. He told me that he would need some more time to transfer the money. Fuck. I didn't want to play this pretend game any longer, but I had to. I kept listening to her as she told me her plans on how she was going to make changes to the interior of my place. I almost laughed because she had no idea that I wasn't going to let her spend a single night here. The thought of her devastation brings a sick satisfaction to my gut, like a twisted knot of pleasure. She has no idea what she's in for. Finally, I got the message from my friend that it was all done. He told me to text him again when I was ready and everything will be gone in a second. I left a sigh of relief. I continued the act for a bit longer. I told her that I was too tired from packing and moving all the stuff in, and that we should take a break and watch YouTube for some time. She agreed. She was scrolling through social media on my tab when I clicked on the video in which I saw her the other night. She didn't pay attention to it in the beginning, but when the mic guy started introducing the hookers, her eyes went up. She still didn't realize what was happening and tried to change the channel so I didn't see her. I kept the remote out of her reach and told her that the best part was coming. She got shocked just as her part came on the television. She started crying then. I laughed and told her it was too late to shed those. It didn't affect me at all. She started crying even more then and told me that she can explain. Save it, I snapped at her. I've seen the messages on your laptop, the filthy things you've been doing for money. She still begged to let her explain. Although I knew that nothing she could say could justify what she had done, I still told her to speak. Maybe because I knew I wanted the actual reason behind it as well. She started speaking. I already knew what she was telling me, but I let her speak. She started speaking between her sobs and told me how it started after she had seen that video on YouTube that day. She told me that she saw that they were giving the prize of $6,000 and she wanted the money. She had to become a hooker first to go to win that prize. That's why she had created that account and started all this. She kept crying and told me that she had decided to end things after she had won that prize. She told me that she never meant to hurt me like this. It just had gone out of control when she realized that she could make so much money with this. It started out as a stupid way to make money. I thought it was harmless, but then The greed took over, and I couldn't stop, were her exact words. I scoffed at her. I told her it didn't matter if she meant to hurt me or Jot. The damage she had done couldn't be erased. I was done with her. I told her that since she won the prize, I had a congratulatory gift for her. She looked at me with confusion on her face. I texted my friend and her phone started getting notifications after a second. She looked like she was going to faint as she saw the money being debited from her account. It didn't stop until it reached $0. The remorse and shock on her face satisfied me a lot. She asked me if I had hacked her account. I just shrugged and chose not to answer. She then got angry and told me that I cannot do it and she'll file a complaint to the police. This made me laugh really bad. I asked her if she was going to tell the police how she had so much money in her account when she was a barista. I also reminded her that all the sites she used were illegal in our country, and also the prize money for which she betrayed me. When she finally realized that she couldn't do anything about it, she started crying again, begging me for forgiveness, telling me that we can figure out anything as long as we are together. She told me she just needed one chance to show me how guilty she was. I told her that I couldn't care less about her or her sorry. I told her to get out of my property as soon as possible. I took her boxes and kept them outside as she kept trying to stop me and forgive her a chance. She told me that she has nowhere to go and no money either. I told her that she should have thought about it before betraying me like that. I also told her that the sites she was using to get customers were banned as someone informed the authorities about them. We both knew who informed the authority about them. She kept crying and wasn't leaving when I finally told her to get out and that she wasn't welcome here. She left the apartment crying. Usually I would have felt bad if I made someone cry like that, but that day all I could feel was absolute satisfaction. She deserved this. Even though I got played, I made sure that she couldn't trap someone else like me. I settled on the couch with my beer and called my friend to thank him for everything. I told him to anonymously donate the money to some charity. I didn't want my hands on that filthy money. It was good that it could help out someone in need. It has been more than 2 months since that day. I have stopped going to the cafe she used to work in. I don't even cross paths with her. I'm happy in my life without someone deceiving me every day. Sometimes my mind randomly starts to think about her and what I did with her. It's weird, but every time I think about her, I get a weird sense of satisfaction and revenge. I had taken my revenge and put an end to her deceit, but I still feel maybe I went too far. I discussed this with my friend and told her the same thing. I asked him if I did the right thing. I told him that we know that she lied to me and she betrayed me, but what I did was that the right thing. He told me something that makes a lot of sense. He told me that sometimes we gotta fight fire with fire. He was right about that. That bitch deserved it. Words of my friend, not mine. Even though I had taken my revenge and made her suffer for her actions had made it hard for me to trust someone again like that. In our short span of relationship, I had grown very attached to her, and then she went and broke my trust like that. This made me realize that anyone can break your trust at any point. I'm trying to finally trust people again because it isn't fair that I stop trusting people who have done no wrong to me. I'm moving past that tragic relationship and all the pain it has caused me. I hope that my noon gets played like my ex played me. Anyways, if you came this far, thank you for listening to my story.